In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can.
Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone. Welcome to the tech zone. We on our tech flow, and it's still a global market in case you didn't know. So many guests, we not trying to impress. Just wanna pass off the info. You could do the rest. See, there's no escaping tech. It's part of our lives. Keep every individual connected worldwide. But all this innovation is more than entertainment. It's people like you paving a new way every day. So let your imagination run wild with all the things that you dream about. Cause the tech zone is on now with Paul Amadeus Lane. Blah. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane here on ABC News Radio. K-Man, thank you so much for tuning in. Our audience on YouTube, live stream, iHeartRadio, iTunes. Yeah, I keep blabbing and blabbing and blabbing. Yeah, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. But thank you so much for tuning in to the show. On our show today, we're going to talk about the latest in cybersecurity news on how you can protect yourself. We're going to be joined by a cybersecurity expert and giving us some tips on how we can keep our identity safe, and especially for millennials out there, because they seem to just think they're invincible when it comes to their identity and how a social media presence really can play a role on whether if we get hacked or not. So don't forget about that coming up later on in the show. We're also going to touch on the latest gaming news. I mean, last week there was some big news from Gamescom. We also had some big news from GameStop, and we're going to be joined by my great friend Tony Polanco talking about the latest in gaming news and much, much more. So remember, you can connect with me, PaulAmadeusLane.com. That's how we can connect on social media. Send me an email, reach out to us. We love it. Hope you enjoyed the Entertainment Zone, some of our interviews from Comic-Con. We got some more coming up. Some great shows that we got a chance to talk to about the upcoming season, and also some shows that are ending. In the beginning of our show right here, we're going to talk about something that's very, very important, especially when it comes to the tech world. And that's this full-blown trade war between the United States and China. You may be wondering what's going on. How is it going to affect my bottom line? Now, you may not have felt the effect that much as of yet, but this next group of sanctions, we want to say not sanctions, but tariffs, are going to have us feel the impact. So what is it all about? I had to get my great friend from the Consumer Technology Association, who's an expert on tariffs, to explain, what's going on and what do we have to look forward to. And I wish it was under better conditions that I have my great friend Bronwyn Flores with me from the Consumer Technology Association on to talk about some innovation and all the fun things that are going on. But Bronwyn, thank you so much for joining me. 3 months ago, we talked. We thought things might be getting better, but they look like they're getting worse. Bronwyn, what can you tell us about what's really going on, my dear? And welcome to the show. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm like doom and gloom. Welcome, my dear. How are you?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We've all on the tech community here over on East Coast and DC area been a lot of members of the business community on edge, and that was certainly escalated even further last week with this sort of Twitter diplomacy that we have going on, a big announcement for the tech community, and this escalating tit for tat trade war with China. So at this point already, just to kind of set the stage for everyone, because there are so many lists and announcements and percentages that are thrown around that can be overwhelming even for those of us involved in it. But basically, we already have tariffs on about basically half of our trade with China. So $250 billion worth of products A lot of that has been on the components part as far as tech is concerned. So like wires, routers, modems, switches, cables. This next list, that the list 4 that will be kicking off actually on Sunday, September 1st, that is huge for the tech industry because it's mostly consumer finished goods. So TVs, digital cameras, drones, all of those will be getting hit with what we thought was a 10% tariff. But as of Friday now, the president has announced that it will be a 15% tariff. Next after that is going to be video game consoles, smartphones, laptops, tablets. So all of our technology, it may be engineered and founded and the marketing occurs in the US, but we get a lot of the manufacturing and component parts from China. So essentially every tech product is going to be hit in one way or another at this level that keeps rising. And it's a huge concern for the business community, the tech community, and American consumers that are going to start to see these prices go up now that it's on finished goods.
And Bronwyn, you and I have had this in conversation a couple of times. And when it comes to slapping these taxes or these tariffs on these goods, we've been told, and you guys are the experts, you guys really set us straight, that we're really making money off of these tariffs. But Bronwyn, that's opposite, correct?
Yeah, the president maintains that the U.S. is making money off these tariffs, but that money is being paid by American companies. So you're right, tariffs are taxes. They're essentially a trade tax. So for something that you've been importing, that you've been getting, you're paying at a 5% higher rate or 10% higher rate. The people that are getting those, that are paying it, are the U.S. business owners that are importing these parts or importing these, finished toys or T-shirts or computers. So that's hurting their bottom line. This issue has been going on for over a year now, and I think in the earlier stages, even till now, some companies were kind of in the hold your breath or let's wait it out, and they were absorbing the cost. They've been absorbing the cost, so they haven't been able to hire or give their employees bonuses. In some cases, they've had to lay off people because they want to do everything they can to basically not have to raise their prices because that's even worse for their business model. But they're at the point now where they've absorbed their costs. They've waited over a year, and not only are the tariffs not getting rolled back, they're increasing by 5-10%, or new products are getting them. So they're paying them, and they're paying them at an increasing rate.
And I know this year, earlier at CES, we had our projections on how the market would be doing, and when it comes to tech and tech trends. Have all this drama, has it caused Steve and Ben and Leslie to pull their hair out and say, we gotta adjust our projections, or are things like steady, or what are we to think now, Bronwyn?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm glad you know all those guys by name. I've been working a lot more closely with our market research team this year because those hard numbers, those facts are so valuable. It is really tough on the predictions front, like you're asking, because that relies on a certain amount of certainty, and what we have is uncertainty. And that's something that's really hard to put into a math equation or to account for. But we are going to try our best to rework our Black Friday predictions, because that's going to affect, I think, that the biggest point is TVs, because those are a product, household brand name. Everyone has one, or they want to get a new one for Christmas or for Super Bowl or for Hanukkah. And that is going to have a new tax on it starting in September. So back a year ago when we were making these predictions, we saw that a lot of businesses were increasing their purchases at the beginning of the year, thinking that tariffs, rightfully so, may be increased. So they kind of wanted to stockpile everything so that they wouldn't have to then make additional purchases later in the year of these parts at a higher rate. Those supplies are pretty much gone now. So we've seen just in the past month or so, these prices really go up. Whether that affects consumer sales or buying patterns, I think we're likely to see in the next few months here, but it's hard to make predictions off of this unpredictable uncertainty that comes, on a tweet on a Friday night.
Yeah, and that's really disconcerting, Bronwyn, when we have policy by tweet now, because it really shakes up consumer confidence. Because think about it. Think if you're balling on a budget, right? And you got all your money that you want to spend, like on some consumer goods, that phone, graduation presents, or other presents out there, and the price has went up. What does that do to the economy impact? Because we've been told that the economy is doing good, and it has been doing good. What could this do to slow growth with the economy? Something like this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the economy is doing well, not because of this policy, but actually in spite of it. So I've told many of my friends, if you have any, big purchases that you're thinking of making, make them now, because if you wait, the price will go up, which is a shame. I don't want to be too negative at this point, but it's heading in a really bad direction. Yes, the economy has been doing well. Consumer spending has been well. We're at a full employment, but this unpredictability, these crazy fluctuations in the stock market. My CEO, Gary Shapiro, said it best, that he thinks we're heading towards a Trump recession. Wow.
And we have heard that too from some of the economists that come on our station too. And when we look at recessions, Bronwyn, how can we prepare ourselves? See, I'm asking to wear your economist hat, but like you said, buy these purchases now, and I think when this happens, if it happens, I think you really start to see a pushback when we can't buy our toys anymore. I think that's when really that's when you see where our priorities are. It's all about our gadgets. If that's a little bit more, we're gonna lose it. So when we look at what's going on right now, I know we've had a call to action before when we talked in the past about people can call their representatives and everything and say, hey, let's not do this. But that seems not to work. So what's like the next step? I mean, is it just to I don't know, Bronwyn. I'm at a loss for words. What's the next step? What can we do?
Yeah, I think it's really important. A lot of this can get, a lot of this messaging or these numbers get thrown around, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, oftentimes until it's too late. So I think just it's incredibly important to any of your listeners out there, if this is resonating with them, to explain it to someone else that this is happening. It's not just what's happening on Capitol Hill or what's happening on Wall Street, that this is making its way down to Walmart, to Target, to shoppers there, that yes, toys can be more expensive this holiday season. Back to school, t-shirts, jeans, that kind of stuff is going to be more expensive, not because it's the newest line of product, but because those businesses are paying an extra tax on it. So to make this an important issue, to make it an election issue, to make it matter to the president that, no, Mr. President, China isn't paying these tariffs. Americans are, and we need this to change.
So the $25 million question, Bronwyn, which happens to be your salary every year. No, I'm just kidding.
You're right. Absolutely right.
I wish, right? We would. But what is this going to do to CES coming up in 2020? Is it going to affect anything or what? Because that's like our Super Bowl.
That's absolutely right. We haven't seen any major, there's no smaller keynoters dropping out. I wouldn't be concerned from that perspective, but I think just seeing this point driven home at CES is what I predict, unless we really reach ahead in negotiations now, which I feel like hour by hour, there's some positive news and there's the other shoe drops and some negative. So assuming that this issue continues on through CES, I think just like last year, you'll see it be more of a staple in Gary's keynote in perhaps the keynotes and announcements of other CEOs that are there, that this is something that can't just be left to the lobbyists and the government affairs people, that it matters through the whole business community to CEOs, that they're not going to be quiet or sit on their hands anymore. And it'll be front and center at such a global stage.
Well said, my friend. And don't have me get up there. I get on that keynote, I'll get everything going. I'll put everybody to shame.
I would love to have you up there.
They'll kind of kick me off, like, get out of here in that chair. No, but
break it down for them.
I'll take it back to Compton where I grew up at, and I just say, look, this is what happens if you mess with the money, and so. But Bronwyn, always enjoy your insight. Now, before I let you go, is there anything else out there you'd like to articulate to the viewer, to the listener out there, about what's going on?
Get loud. Get on Twitter. I mean, it works well for the president. I think it's a very important tool for him. It's important for him and for any of your elected officials to hear from you. Don't just sit back and involved.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Bronwyn Flores, Policy Communication Specialist over at Consumer Technology Association. My friend, I appreciate how accessible you always are to me when I want to reach out and talk about this subject. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers, they appreciate it too, because this is something that make your head spin. I was talking to someone when I was covering Comic-Con, and he was one of the tech guys, visual guys over from Man in the High Castle. The series is getting ready to come to an end. And during the interview, I was talking to him, and I was like, man, it's like we're living in an alternate reality, man. When can we go back to some normalcy? So, Bronwyn, I'm looking forward to the day where we can talk about innovation and all this great things in the world. So, but I do appreciate you always.
Talk about drones and blockchain. I don't want to talk about taxes. Come on.
That's what I'm talking about. It's no fun talking about that. But my dear, thank you so much always for being accessible, and hopefully we'll have some good news soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. So important.
A huge shout out to my great friend Bronwyn Flores from the Consumer Technology Association. I always love that I'm able to reach out to her when we have this type of news about tariffs, and she comes right on and gives us some things that we can talk about. Now, all I'm saying, you mess with our gadgets, then that's when we have not a problem, but a problem. Yes. So when we get back, we're going to talk about some cybersecurity and how you can keep your identity safe. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back here with more Tech Zone. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. Be right back.
I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.